Hi, Church of the Good Shepherd and friends. If you haven't heard the news, we are opening up for in-person worship on June 6th. At least that's our target. We have a lot of work to do between now and then, but keep an eye open for news. It'll be a hybrid style, which means you can still tune in on Zoom. Information about how to sign up for services will be coming out on May 1st. Thanks to all of you who tuned in for the annual meeting of the Southwest Conference of the United Church of Christ. A special thanks to Linda, Dorinda, Dick, Ashley, Lucian, Derek, David, Lynn, Don, Jim, Joanna, and Mercy for participating in our service. Our musicians in particular have stepped up in big ways over the past year, and I am so thankful we had the opportunity to share the results of all of their hard work at the annual meeting worship service last Sunday. If you missed the service, it's still available online right here. Some of the resolutions that passed include a resolution and response to the far-reaching and long-lasting effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. Each congregation in the Southwest Conference is urged to implement additional ministries and programs in our church and the wider community for the unemployed, dislocated, hungry, and distressed, to undertake teaching ministries that adopt a simpler, just, debt-free, and sustainable lifestyle, and to bring Christ's voice into the public arena, advocating and facilitating policy to shape a more just, equitable world. This resolution invites us to increase our work in direct and charitable actions, to serve those who are struggling and suffering most in the current economic crisis resulting from the pandemic. It also urges us to seek social justice through political action and advocacy, to likewise bring Christ's voice into the public arena, to shape a more just and equitable society and a more global economic system. Another resolution we passed calls on the Southwest Conference of the United Church of Christ and its congregations to become immigrant welcoming and advocates for immigrant and asylum-seeking individuals and families, as we recognize the ongoing struggles of refugees and migrants who come to the United States seeking safety, security, liberation, and opportunities, but instead experience suffering as they fear raids, deportation, and they witness their families being torn apart. This resolution further encourages the congregations of the Southwest Conference to help facilitate the development of policies that will reform our broken immigration system. The Southwest Conference encourages all of its member churches and their settings to educate our members, friends, and community, and advocate for change at the local, state, federal, and executive levels of government. We're not sure what that will look like for us here at Church of the Good Shepherd yet, but if you have ideas about how we could better serve those in Albuquerque who are suffering the effects of the pandemic, or how we could be more welcoming to migrants, please share them with me or with a member of our council. If you'd like to read the full resolutions, which include biblical, theological, and ethical rationale, you can read them at swcucc.org/virtual-annual-meeting-2021. There were also bylaws changes to the bylaws of the Southwest Conference, including the recognition of the 4 regions of our conference: Northern Arizona, Southern Arizona, Northern New Mexico, which is where we are, and then Southern New Mexico / El Paso, Texas. We also passed the recommendation that all standing committees of the Southwest Conference, including the executive board of the Southwest Conference, shall include members who identify as Black, Indigenous, and/or people of color. This doesn't apply to local churches, but of course we're all encouraged to be mindful of how we do nominations on the local level as well. Decentering whiteness in our churches and society was also added as a value of the Southwest Conference in the Southwest Conference bylaws. The idea of decentering whiteness, if you haven't heard that term before, might be tough to wrap our heads around. So I encourage you to Google it to start. But one simple example would be, instead of saying Conference committees won't be all white. We say committees must include someone who identifies as Black, Indigenous, or a person of color. It is a tiny shift, but it pulls the center away from whether people are white or not, right? It decenters from whiteness. It's similar to some of the work we did in previous generations and that we're still doing around gender. So for example, not using male language for God all the time in church. It's not a massive shift to use gender neutral or gender inclusive language 1 or 2 times, but if you put that together with lots of other efforts, it does make a difference. One more example, I read one woman who talked about how it's important we pay attention to how we're perpetuating what we may think of as universal standards of beauty, dress, conflict resolution, etc., but that are actually European or white standards. She said it's quite common for someone to compliment 2 of her 3 children, for example, on their beautiful blue eyes. And while she always appreciates the compliment, she's conscious of her 3rd brown-eyed child. What message is she receiving about how she fits in with European standards of beauty? So she asks herself, when in my own positive and negative interactions with children have I come from a white or Euro-centered approach? I admit it's hard not to make white the default when that's what we're used to. A lot of us do it unconsciously. So it takes conscious work, hard work, just like not calling God he 100% of the time takes work. That's still awkward for some of us. But the conference agreed almost unanimously that it's work worth doing. There was also a polity shift. It affects ministers in the Southwest Conference. So in 2018, the UCC's Manual on Ministry replaced the category of licensed ministry and commissioned ministry with lay ministerial standing, which changed those ministers' ability to vote in certain denominational and conference business dealings. So for example, Jessie, who serves at our sister church down in El Paso, was not ordained, but she was licensed to serve that particular church. When they changed her standing in 2018 to lay ministerial standing, it stripped her of her voting rights in some situations. So this year we corrected that, recognizing that lay ministers are lay people who are authorized for ministry in and on behalf of the UCC in a particular setting or congregation. So that means that folks like Jessie now have a vote in conference business anytime authorized ministers have a vote. So now back to local ministry here at Church of the Good Shepherd. Our Family Promise partners continue their work preparing to move into their new building. If you'd like to sign up to tour the new facility, please contact Mike or John or call the church office to set up a tour. Make sure you check out the midweek message for information about the upcoming blood drive as well. A reminder, we're at the end of our fiscal year, and we need your help in the next 2 months meeting our financial goals so that we can cover our expenses and fund the valuable ministries of the church. So please share your gifts and your prayers over the next couple of months to help us meet our budget. If you'd like to give online, all you have to do is go to ucccogs.org/give. You can also text the word give to 505-278-5757. Checks are also welcome, and you can send those to this address, which you can also find on our website. A special thanks again to Mara Lee for maintaining our website and social media presence on Facebook, and to Erica for all the ways that she's supporting that ministry. Thanks to them, we're reaching even more people with God's good news. The newsletter will be mailed on May 1st. Thank you to those of you who contributed, and thanks to Erica, who's putting it all together. I also want to thank Erica for the additional work she's picked up this pandemic, like writing grants. In addition to keeping us informed about what's happening this week, she wrote a very lengthy grant application to the Southwest Conference to help us fund our transition to hybrid worship in June. So thank you to Erica for that. I also want to say thank you to our church council, who's in the middle of putting together budgets right now. The council will be meeting to discuss their draft budget on Sunday, May 16th at 12:30 p.m. if you'd like to join us for that. Thanks ahead of time to George in particular for all of the detailed work he's doing ahead of time to put that together. This Sunday in worship, we will be moving into the book of Acts and the story of Philip and a eunuch from Ethiopia who experiences conversion along the road. It's a beautiful story of welcome and joy, and I look forward to sharing it with you on Sunday. Have a beautiful week, and I'll see you then.